Welcome to Energize and Revitalize with Dr. Amy. I'm Dr. Amy Cooper-Smith, a doctorate prepared nurse practitioner, and this show is about empowering you to live a radiant, healthy, and balanced life. I'm very excited to introduce today's guest, Jordan Levine, the President and COO of the Stretch Zone. So, welcome and thank you so much for being here today.
Dr. Amy, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Excited to be here.
Yeah. So, sitting is the new smoking. What's that about?
It's funny. I was actually in anticipation of having our discussion today. I was actually I attacked Google and just asked a lot of questions. And I wanted to understand. I mean, we hear that all the time. We throw around terms like sitting is the new smoking. What does it actually mean? And apparently, the CDC did a study several years back where 1 in 4 Americans sits more than 8 hours a day. And I think I actually just I didn't know that. And so, when I read that, it actually caused me to take a moment of pause and to say, "Are you kidding me? Like, are we that sedentary?" But you think about the effects that has on you, on all the chronic disease that this causes, and we talk about it being the new smoking. It's the new eating bad food. It's the new
Right.
smoking. It's the new, you name it. It's having severe impacts on our lives. And it's alarming and it's scary. And, I'm so glad we're having this discussion
Yeah.
because it raises awareness. And the more we can talk about this, the more we can all play a part and a role in helping solve this epidemic.
Right. And sometimes, we have to do our jobs, and there are certain things we have to do that require us to be in a stationary position. But, what are some strategies that people can do when they have to be at a computer all day?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just conscious effort, and I think now a lot of us wear these watches where they tell
Yeah.
us you're sitting, it's time to get up, and I think those are really great tools, but it's conscious efforts for us to pay attention to our bodies, and there's a lot of things that we can do, and sometimes it's as little as every 20, 30 minutes standing up and just doing a quick stretch at your desk. Sometimes it's just walking down the hall. If you work in an office, I work in an office. I'm very fortunate. I work around lots of people. And sometimes getting up and instead of sending a Teams or a Slack or a text message to a coworker, walking down the hall, makes a big difference. Here in my office, I'm on the second floor of a building. Can I take the stairs every now and then instead of the elevator? It's just these conscious little choices that we make. In the morning, can you go for a 5-minute walk? It doesn't have to be massive before you get to work. When you get home, before you sit down and have dinner, can you go for a short walk? Maybe after dinner. And if you can, I'm a big believer in life, forget even just this conversation, just in life, that when we make small decisions, it's very easy for us um, to do the small things, and the small things add up to big things. And if it could just be as simple as a quick 5-minute stretch every couple hours, or standing up, or going down and walking down the hall, but all those little things add up, and then they become big.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point because people do get overwhelmed and, they're just up from life and just, okay, do you have 5 minutes? Well, yeah, of course I do. And just like not having to be perfect and just getting started.
Listen, we're not perfect. Nobody is. And I think part of where we, as a society, I think also get ourselves in trouble is when we try to be perfect. And, I mean, how many diets have you seen over the
Mhm.
years where it's like so restrictive and everyone fails at some point? You're really good for 2 weeks and then you go off the
Mhm.
bandwagon and you have a binge, right? And it's like you can literally say that about anything. Anything
Yeah.
that's very restrictive is very complicated and very hard to stick to. So if you could just make these small little tweaks in your life, and again, they're conscious. You have to pay attention for. The hard part is that the hard part is how do you set up those triggers, those moments to make you realize, oh, time to get up. Those
Yeah.
types of things. If you can do that, the actual act is very simple. Um, but I think it is about making it simple. If you make it complicated, you won't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So just to backtrack for a second, for people that maybe aren't familiar, what is the stretch zone?
Great question. You're asking me a question I love to talk about. Listen, I'm a big believer in the brand that I represent. I'm very fortunate to work with a brand that I love, And Stretch Zone is a franchise, locally owned and operated franchise brand of 425 stores across the United States, and we offer assisted stretching. And when people say, "Well, what's assisted stretching?" Glad you asked. You didn't, but we'll pretend you did. And I have friends and family that ask all the time, like, "Tell me what that is." And I think it's an opportunity for us to educate the population on what stretching is and why it's good. So if I ask a room of 100 people, how many of you, raise your hand, 100 people, how many of you believe that stretching is good for you? 100 hands will go up. I wouldn't even say 99. 100 out of 100 hands
Right.
will go up. Everyone will say it's good for you. The follow-up question I ask people is, how many of you stretch on a regular basis? And the hands go down. And all of a sudden, the 100 hands in the room, there's 3 left up of people that are like, yeah, I stretch all the time. Not sure I believe you, but let's go with that. Um, and so everyone believes that this is a wonderful thing. How many are doing it? The numbers drop off. And herein lies the business of what Stretch Zone brings. And assisted stretching is such that we ask people to come in for 30 minutes, and all you got to do is lay on a table, and we do the rest. Now, talk about an easy sell. Talk about, make things easy for people, and they'll do it.
Yeah.
That's the simplicity of this brand. And assisted stretching, again, we can talk about the benefits of stretching as a whole, but assisted stretching is so much deeper and so much more effective than the old touching your toes. Again, great benefits to that as well. There's great stretching that you can do at home, but when someone can do it for you, you're going to get deeper. It will be safer. It will be more effective. Um, and the list of benefits goes on and on and on. And so I'm a big believer. Listen, we all get a choice of where we get to choose to work. I am the luckiest person in the world that I get to work for a brand that I truly believe in my core is not only good for me as a human being, but great for other human beings as well.
Yeah, and that makes a big difference when you are passionate about your career path and you can spread that word to other people.
Listen, I can be passionate about a lot of things, and I've had a great career where I've worked for some really, really wonderful brands doing really, really great, really cool stuff. And there are brands where I've worked in the past that I've been a believer of the product, but not a user of the product.
Mm.
Maybe, in the past, it was maybe a more female centric product offering. And I can still believe as a male in a female, I can understand the mission. I can understand what it does. Um, this is quite unique for me because this is something that I was actually a member and I was getting stretched um, before I ever worked for Stretch Zone. So
Wow.
I am the demographic. I could also make the argument all day long. Human being is our demographic. I happen to be one. But I was actually a user of the product before I ever even stepped foot in our corporate office.
Mm. So let's say I have a tight back and I walk into Stretch Zone. What happens then?
Well, the first thing that will happen when you come into a Stretch Zone is we will do a consultation. Your first stretch is always free. And that is a really cool thing. Boy, when I tell friends and family, everybody always says, "What can you give me?" As a friend, family, and I always say, "Listen, first stretch is always free." Great way to get someone's foot in the door. And because first stretch is always free, there's a real big reason why we do that. The reason we do that is assisted stretching is still very much unknown to a lot of people. And so I can say to you, listen, come try us out. And it'll be, I'm throwing out a number, $100 for your, and you're thinking to yourself, you haven't assigned a value to that yet because you don't know what it is. And so part of First Stretch being free, complimentary, is that it gives you, there's no reason not to try it. We take in all the barrier of entry out of the equation. So you have your back pain, whatever the reason is, the first thing that we'll try to do is to understand how to custom tailor that service to you. Now, you have back pain, the next person has sciatica pain, leg pain, hip pain, I mean, you name it. So we have to identify where that pain is isolated to, so that we can custom tailor the experience to you. Now, we are a protocol based stretch brand. So, what does that mean? There's lots of assisted stretching out there. It's all wonderful. I have nothing but wonderful things to say about everyone in the space. What's different about a protocol is that no matter where you go, you will get the same skinny vanilla latte anywhere you go. You will always get a great experience because we teach a protocol. Now, there's lots of variation of the protocol, so it doesn't mean you're going to get the same set of stretches, but the stretches are tried, true, safe. And every franchise owner in our country, around, across the country, their team has been trained on our protocol. And so you never have to guess what you're going to get. You're always going to get our proprietary stretch system. Now, what's beautiful about that is you are going to leave feeling better. You are going to leave instantaneously. You will feel like completely transformed. And it's not to say after one stretch your pain is gone, but you will feel better. You will feel better.
So, what will assisted stretching give me that, like stretching on my own, won't?
Well, first of all, you're not going to do it on your own. I mean,
Ah,
all spade a spade.
okay.
You're not going to do it on your own. Everyone says they do. Everyone says they should. I'm a marathon runner. I've run for 20 plus years. I am the worst at stretching on my own. I know I should. I know anecdotally that I should do it, but I don't. So let's start with that.
Yeah.
Let's get past that now. Let's assume that I do stretch. I don't, but let's just say I do. Um, the quality of the stretch that you're going to do on yourself. The average person doesn't know what stretches to do.
Mm-hmm.
So we do what we were taught in third grade when, do you remember the sit and reach box that you did
Yeah.
in the PE class? So we're going to do the sit and reach type of thing, touch our toes, whether it's standing or sitting. We might do a little bit of a quad stretch because everybody's seen that one before where you stand on one leg and you look like a flamingo. I mean, there's going to be the three or four stretches that everyone kind of knows, but you don't really know what they're doing, why they're doing it, how it helps. You don't know how long to hold it for, how deep to go. You don't know. And part of having somebody trained is we know the stretch is effective. We know that it's targeted. Now, if my back hurts and I do a quad stretch, is that the right stretch for where my pain exists? Now, do I know as the average human being walking down the street which stretches I should do for my back? I probably don't. So I think part of it is an education. Part of it is just the layperson doesn't necessarily know. But I think going even deeper, the beauty of assisted stretching is that you have extra set of hands that someone is working and applying their body pressure against yours. So you can just go deeper.
Yeah.
Stretch zone in particular, one of the things that sets us apart is our proprietary tables and our proprietary strapping system. And so if you imagine somebody stretching you and one hand is used to hold your body down and the other might be used to pull your leg across your body, that's typical. In our business, we have straps that hold your body in place. Now, what that does is I can use both hands to move your body. So what it enables me to do is to go deeper, but also as a stretch practitioner, I don't have to exert as much effort to go deeper. So the body mechanics for a stretch practitioner in our business is quite good and quite safe while also being able to go very, very deep. So I think there's a new number of factors that make assisted stretching just better than what you're going to do on your own if you were even going to do it on your own.
Yeah. So I've heard a lot of different things. I'm a runner myself, and so depending on which expert you're listening to, some will say, "Well, static stretching isn't good for us. We should be dynamic. We should be moving," and others will say, "No, you need to hold that stretch for at least a minute before it does anything for you." So, what is your opinion?
It's you're reminding me of the research studies that you watch the news
Uh,
and every night, watch the nightly news, and every night there's a new study on should I have caffeine? Is coffee good for you? Is it bad? One day
yeah,
coffee is like the next best thing, and one day you should stay away from it at all costs.
yeah,
Um, you ask 10 people, you can have 10 different
hmm
opinions. Not being a doctor, I have an opinion,
yeah,
but won't say that I'm the world's foremost expert at this. I would say this: being a runner, as I said, for 25 years, a very active person. I believe my body is the biggest gift I'll ever get in my life. And I love putting my body to the test. And so, like, I am that person. I'm also that person that doesn't stretch as much as I should. because I'm just like everyone else, which is why I love stretch zones so much.
Yep.
But truly, to answer your question, um, I think all stretching is good. And so long as someone is doing stretching, I personally, if I had to give everyone a grade and a report card for the quality of their stretching, so long as you're doing it, you
Right.
get an A in my book. And too many people don't get an A because they're not even doing it. So I think static stretching is wonderful. I think dynamic stretching is wonderful. I think going back to where we began this conversation, it's the lack of moving your body that is what's harming our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And, anything that you can do to move your body, even if you're giving yourself the worst stretch in the world and all you know how to do is touch your toes, at least you tried.
It's better than nothing.
Yeah.
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 I'm going to have you hold that thought. We're going to
Okay.
pause for a break from our sponsor. You're
Very good.
listening to Energize and Revitalize with Dr. Amy. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Energize and Revitalize with Dr. Amy. I'm Dr. Amy Cooper Smith, and my guest today is Jordan Levine from the Stretch Zone. So, before the break, we were talking about all the many benefits of assisted stretching and stretching in general. We also talked about research and how you can read one research study that will tell us one thing and one will tell us something else. But the Zone did its own study. So, what did you uncover, or what did the Stretch Zone uncover with that?
Yeah, I mean, we really set out at the beginning of this. We've known for many years, as anecdotal as we've been talking about. We hear it every day in our stores. We hear people talk about the wonderful benefits of stretching. We hear personal stories of how they couldn't play with their grandkids and now they can, or my golf game got improved, my pickleball was improved, my running has been improved, but just quality of life in general has gotten better because of the service that we deliver. So we've known that for years. That was anecdotal. We wanted to really understand and quantify what that actually meant. And you watch commercials on TV and they say 4 out of 5 doctors recommend this, or 9 out of 10 dentists recommend this toothpaste. We wanted to have those data points. We wanted to be able to say, without just talking about the story of this person in our store, how she felt better after. We wanted to quantify it, and so we actually commissioned a real clinical study for the first time in our history to understand. And we wanted it to pass the sniff test, to pass academia, and we actually got published in the Journal of Musculoskeletal Disorders and Treatment, which is a real peer-reviewed journal, and that gives us a lot of legitimacy to tell the story that we already knew, but now we can tell it with a lot of confidence. And a lot of the things that we saw in the study corroborated this idea that stretching is good for you. What it surprised us is how it's not just about the quantitative, but it's the qualitative side of our lives. And so, it started with the first data point that we uncovered in this study was the 78% improvement in discomfort or pain. And that makes a lot of sense. People come in, as you said before the break, my back hurts. And whatever the ailment is that drives you to make that first appointment, 78%, listen, I could sleep well at night knowing that if we improve 10% of our uh, members' pain, I'd be thrilled. 78% actually
That's
stopped me in my tracks
huge.
when I heard
Yeah.
that. And so 78% of respondents saying, I feel better after I get stretched regularly. Now, next, when we went through the study, when we talk about qualitative and how this is affecting your life beyond just what you thought you knew, 66% said I have higher energy. 58% of respondents said they had reported better sleep. Now, that one surprised me. That was actually, maybe I'll call that one the showstopper. And I guess it makes sense when you think, if I'm not hurting, then maybe I actually sleep better.
Yeah.
What causes me to wake up in the middle of the night might be pain. I'm tossing and turning, whatever. And 66% higher energy and 58% better sleep. To me, when we talk about, sitting being the new smoking, and
Mm-hmm.
and moving your body has such a profound impact into your life beyond pain. 85% of our respondents reported improved range of motion. Again, that one makes sense. 61% of respondents said they experienced better, um, increased ease in daily activities. 90% said they saw full body benefit for their overall general health. I mean, it's these numbers are not trivial.
Yeah.
And the fact that we were able to share this research, not just with our own clientele and our own marketing, but the fact that it was picked up in this journal, the fact that we were picked up on the Today Show and we were Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Fox Business, people are taking notice. And it has had having data and research not only gives us that feel good that we're doing the right things to better the world, but it's being noticed by others. And it's quite an opportunity and it's quite transformational moment in our brand's history to have this now.
Yeah. So, what is the hypothesis there that, because it makes sense that we feel better, right? That we have less pain, but where does the increased energy come from?
I think it comes back to this sleep.
Yeah.
If 58% of our folks in our study found that they were sleeping better, that would contribute to higher energy.
Yeah.
When your body is operating at peak functionality, just in general, you know when you're in pain, and when you're in pain, everything is harder.
Yeah.
Everything works harder and is compensating in ways, and that takes a toll on not only your physical body but on your mind. Um, Somewhat tangential here, related. Years and years ago, when I first started running, I remember talking to somebody. Now, early, I was a lot younger, I was a lot faster, everything felt a lot better. But I remember somebody that was a run coach that I was talking to one day, and I would talk to anyone that would teach me things. And I remember this one run coach talked about how when your body is not at optimal peak, your body has to work harder. And I remember she equated this to when your body is overweight by a pound, 2 pounds, 3 pounds, 4 pounds, you're carrying this extra weight. She taught me to think about, she always talked about melons. I'll tell you where I'm going here. Imagine if a melon weighs a pound and you put in your backpack 10 melons, you're 10 pounds overweight, and you decide, I'm going to go for a run. But you got 10 melons in a backpack, 10 pounds overweight. How is your body going to function? It's going to hurt more. You're going to you're going to tire faster. You'll probably be out of breath. Your joints aren't going to feel very good. And you're just going to get fatigued that much faster. You're going to hit that wall that much faster. And while somewhat different here, I'm not talking about obesity or overweight, but when your body is not operating at optimal, when things are just not functioning the way they should, then your body is compensating. Your body is tired. You're hitting fatigue faster. And that's kind of the idea here. When you sleep, because you're not in pain, your body can optimize. And I think that's sort of I'm giving you this sort of tangential answer, but I think it's related.
Yeah, we've talked a lot on the show about the importance of sleep and how so many people are just really struggling in that area.
Well, phones don't help us with that either.
No,
So
no.
the body's hurt, but here I am holding my
Yeah.
phone, and this scrolling has also become a pandemic, an epidemic.
Yeah. Do you find like more neck pain because we're looking down at our phones all the
Oh my
time?
gosh. No, it's all the above. It's,
Mhm.
you know, I don't remember the number, but how heavy our heads are. And every time you're looking down, you're
Mm.
causing pain in ways that your body is not built for. And then you think about, holding your phone and the wrist and
Yeah.
carpal tunnel and things like that. I'll never forget, I remember 20 years ago when this was first on our radar. And I remember it was, I think, my grandmother. She was saying how I wish now, this is 20 years ago, I wish I had invested in being a thumb doctor, because like we were starting to use our
Yeah.
thumbs in ways that they're not made for. Um, but yeah, I mean, all these things that we didn't have. You think about the life cycle of the human being, and we didn't have these things 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 5,000 years ago, and our bodies are not built for them. And so we're not sleeping well. Our necks are hurting more. Our body mechanics are being affected. Our posture. We talked about sitting. So is iPads and iPhones. they're hurting our posture, and they're wonderful. Listen, I'm not here. I have an iPhone. I love my iPhone. I couldn't live without my iPhone. But at the same time, you've got to take the pro and the con together, and they are causing damage to our bodies in other ways. And so now we just have to decide, is the benefit, does it outweigh the negative? And I think we've all made that choice already, that it's opened up so many wonderful doors for us that it's worth it. But we also have to pay attention to that. And now we have to treat our bodies, AKA come into stretch zone, but we have to treat our bodies and take care of ourselves for those exact reasons.
Yeah, so we started the episode saying sitting is the new smoking. So what else, like we know it causes pain, right? Not moving, but what else is happening on a physical level that's just making us sick when we're not
Yeah,
moving?
boy, I mean, it's everything. It's you know, our sitting is causing us to develop chronic diseases, to have issues with heart health, to ultimately lead to things like type 2 diabetes. Um, there's all kinds of impacts that we're having to our metabolic health. And the fact that sitting is causing increased BMIs, and that's affecting our mortality rates. I mean, there are so many things that are happening because we're not moving our bodies. Um, and I saw this other statistic from, I believe it was from the Mayo Clinic when I was sitting doing some research before our discussion. Um, and it said that mortality risk is elevated by 15 to 20% just by not moving our bodies.
Yeah.
As we said earlier, it's comparing the risks of smoking and obesity to excessive sitting.
Yeah.
And so the more we can move our bodies, the more we can mitigate and protect our bodies from things like chronic disease and heart disease and all the other things that are impacted by having sedentary lifestyles.
Yeah. And they say even people that are runners, let's say we're recreational runners, even we sit too much. Just because when we're not running, we're working at a desk and doing that. So we need to, everyone needs to just move more.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm a runner. When I run, maybe I run for a half hour, maybe it's an hour, maybe it's a really good day, I'm running for 90 minutes, maybe whatever it is. But how many hours are in the day? There's 24, 8 of which are spent sleeping. Not moving there, also quite important, as we discussed. But if I run for an hour a day, that does not give me a hall pass to not move my body for the rest of the time. And so, no matter how active you are, it's those little things that we talked about at the beginning of your show, where we talked about every 30 minutes getting up to stand, to do a quick stretch, to walk around your office or your home, to take a lap around the neighborhood in the morning or at night. And it's those little things that you can do. Anyone who is active, sure, you're a step ahead of the rest of the population, but it does not give you a hall pass to be sedentary the other 15 hours of the day.
Yep. Yep. So you gave a lot of really easy things that people can do just to move a little more and just to slowly improve their health. So we're almost out of time, but how can people find out more about the stretch zone and the other things you've talked about?
Yeah, for sure. I would invite all of your listeners, of course, to check out our website stretchzone.com. And on our website, we'll have a store locator page. We have 425 stores. So hopefully we're in your neighborhood, wherever you happen to be.
And we will have a,
yeah.
yeah.
Hopefully we'll have one wherever your listeners may find themselves. Also on our website, we talked a little bit about our research study. There is a research tab on our website that I would actually really invite all of your listeners to check out. And it shows not only the statistics I talked about, there's a link to the journal article. If your readers or your listeners rather want to read up on the benefits of assisted stretching, there's also about a 10-minute documentary video that we produced that walks people through how we got here and why we're doing this research study, or why we did the research study. And hopefully you'll find that entertaining. And so part of educating yourself on the benefits of moving your body is to understand the benefits of why stretching is good. And I would invite your listeners to check all that out on our website. And certainly every one of your listeners, I invite to come and get a free stretch. First stretch is always free. And we always invite people to, it's sort of a try before you buy. Understand what it is, feel the feeling, experience the sensations, understand, don't take my word for it. Come try us out. And if you love it, we'd love for you to become a long term member with us and to keep coming in and to keep feeling good. But try first. And that would be my mic drop for your
Yeah,
listeners.
it's risk free. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you again. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Well, thank you, Dr. Amy. I enjoyed being here. Thanks for having me.
Great. And thanks to our listeners for tuning in to Energize and Revitalize with Dr. Amy. Do you have insights from this show? Send me an email at radiantpodcast2025@gmail.com. Check out past episodes on our YouTube channel, and we're also featured on Apple Podcasts and all your favorite platforms. I'll be back next Saturday morning at 7:30 with more expert insights and practical strategies to help you live a radiant and healthy life. Until then, here's to your best life.